On tonight's CTV News, the city has been battered by one of the worst storms and flooding in over 100 years. CTV spent the day surveying the damage. This is CTV News. I'm Grant Mangan. Christchurch and Banks Peninsula has been hammered by one of the worst storms in over 100 years. Residents have been evacuated and power remains out to thousands around the region.
It's the storm of the century. As each hour passed, the scale of the event escalated.
We were anticipating a 1 in 5 year event. By 5 o'clock this morning, we were anticipating a 1 in 35 year event. By 6 a.m. in the morning, when we were actually measuring the actual rainfall as against the forecasts, we were measuring a 1 to 50 year event, and now we are measuring a 1 to 100 year event. So this is a significant event for our city.
The worst of the storm was to hit at 9 o'clock last night, but the weather never eased off, and residents in the Marahau, Woolston, Heathcote and other areas were left to evacuate their homes in the middle of the night. Roads have been closed all around Flockton Avenue here. We've got road cones floating in the middle of the road. The residents behind me in this house here were just evacuated at 4 a.m. and the fire brigade is still at 10 a.m. going up and down the road evacuating people, telling them to get to safety. High tide's hitting at 10 a.m, so things are only going to get worse. Last night, the Christchurch City Council had set up a welfare centre at Marahau High School. Preparing for the worst, by the morning only a handful had taken shelter at the school. This afternoon, civil defence teams shifted the welfare centre to Woolston Primary School, as the area had been worse affected when the Heathcote River broke at high tide this morning. Even the local fire brigade had underestimated the scale of the storm.
There's areas now that were never flooded before, now that deep inside houses.
St John has had extra crews out on the street, and Orion has been working hard throughout the day to restore power to affected areas around the city. But tonight they have one message for Cantabrians.
The key thing is safety. If you see the lines are down, stay away from them and give us a call on 363 9898.
The Akaroa and Sumner residents have been cut off from the rest of the region. While the clean-up is about to begin for many around Canterbury, the council say they're expecting over 100 homes to be affected by flood damage. Emma Cropper, CTV News.
Hundreds of people across Christchurch have been evacuated as floodwaters rose this morning, many taking shelter from the storm at welfare centres.
Evacuating at short notice. At 4 a.m, Civil Defence carried Linda Wells from her Carrick Street home and into safety.
It was just a mad dash to throw things in the car and in the cases and go.
Linda's taking shelter at Marahau High School, which has turned into a welfare centre.
So obviously, as you can see, it's a lot of flooding going on outside. But what we have, the welfare centre, is we've got 5 adults and 4 children, so 2 families of 3, and 1 person who's from out of Christchurch at this stage.
With floodwaters still high, heading home isn't an option for today.
I'm not sure where I'll be staying. Yeah, a bit lost for that one at the moment.
Christchurch City Council warned the worst would hit at 9 o'clock last night. But 7 hours later, Linda's house was rapidly filling with water.
It's right through the house, having to wear gumboots right through the house, put everything up as high as we could, just to try and save what we can. Car's in the garage, but I think the car's gone too. Yeah, it's been pretty bad.
But with the worst of the storm meant to have hit last night, Linda, her son and a friend wanted to check out the damage her home had suffered overnight. As we walked down the streets, the devastation was obvious. Cars submerged underwater, flooding almost reaching the windows of houses, and pets were even being evacuated. But as we made it closer to Linda's property, the water had risen even higher than expected, too deep to even take a look inside.
Devastating, absolutely devastating. My life's in that place, my car. Yeah, just absolutely shattered. Can't believe it.
With the water so high, even the fire brigade had to take to foot and evacuate homes.
There's no way we can pump water from a flooded property back out here, it just flows straight back in. So we're basically prophets of doom. But we're doing everything we can, but there's a very little we can do.
Linda had only moved into her home last year. She'd never even been told it was on floodable land.
To me, it's devastating than an earthquake. You have aftershocks, but you roll with the punches with those. With this, it's just heartbreaking.
But just down the road, her neighbours had found the site of the flooding all too familiar.
We've done this before. Yeah, we did it in June last year.
Some new to flooding. How was it seeing your house underwater again?
It's really upsetting. We almost got the insurance claim sorted from last time. Last week we got new vinyl in the bathroom, so we'll probably be having to redo that again.
The worst of the storm is over, but for many of the residents, the clean-up has just begun. Emma Cropper, CTV News.
With heavy rain, drainage systems were under intense pressure all over the city. The Avon and Heathcote rivers were full to the brim today, creating problems for residents, pedestrians, kayakers and even ducks. Patrick Phelps reports.
This bridge crosses the Heathcote River, and as you can see, someone's left the tap on. Some kayakers are making the most of the high waters, though it didn't all go smoothly. Don't worry, he's fine. But the flooding did make some residents a little nervous.
Well, I've been here 20 years and up till today, it's only gone as far as the curbs on the other side of the road.
Some driveways in his neighbourhood are flooded severely, and it's easy to see how he was worried for his own house.
I stayed home this morning to make sure it didn't go into the garage, did a bit of sandbagging just to make sure everything would be all right. But yeah, we were a bit nervous for a while there as the tide was coming in.
Paul McMahon is the chairman of the Sprayton Heathcote Community Board. He says on the back of the Canterbury earthquakes, the biggest impact on some residents will be psychological.
These streets often flood, but not this bad. This is probably worse than 1975, it sounds like, or the worst since 1975.
Mr McMahon says he's heard of some phenomenal water power.
I've heard stories about cars floating down the road and that kind of thing. And there's just a lot of people really struggling with getting places that they need to get. You know, a lot of roads closed and that kind of thing.
Paul McMahon says it's not just the rivers.
The other big problem is in the hills. People need to be looking out for signs of mass land movement. You know, slumping and buckling and cracks and retaining walls bulging and that kind of thing.
The Heathcote River was an impressive sight, but down at the Avon in Hagley Park, wind ripped branches off trees and flooded the Otakaro as well. With water creeping up tree trunks, park benches underwater, and some freezing cold mallards, tomorrow the people of the Christchurch could be feeling a little drained. Patrick Phelps, CTV News.
The power has been out all over Canterbury. Orion has been working to restore the power, though, as quickly as possible.
Power has been out to thousands around Canterbury. Orion has been making every effort to restore it as soon as possible.
Currently we've got about 4,100 customers off, mostly in Banks Peninsula, a few pockets elsewhere, but we've faced strong winds that have brought trees down onto the lines, and now we're facing flooding and slips caused by the water. So just simply getting access to work sites is difficult.
Workers haven't been able to work around the clock, abandoning efforts to restore power last night.
We had to call them in the middle of the night, for safety reasons. We pulled them out of the field for a while, but they're back out there all day from first light and making progress where they can, but it's simply getting to locations. A lot of roads are flooded and inaccessible, and that really is the challenge.
But restoring the power will take some time. Some pockets in Christchurch will remain without it heading into the night, as well as those in the worst affected areas.
We're hoping to make some headway into that 4,100 number later on today, but I'm predicting there will be customers without power overnight, particularly in the Banks Peninsula area.
While the storm eased at lunchtime today, it's been a double event for Orion, with the rain and floods currently causing more of a problem out in the field.
The Banks Peninsula's taken the brunt not only of the wind, but now of the rain and flooding.
This afternoon, the Mayor called the storm a 1-in-100-year event.
Yeah, it's pretty big. It's unusual in that it's gone on so long. We had strong winds for a long period of time, followed by heavy rain, and it's that combination that's so unique.
The Orion team don't have a timescale for when all of the power will be restored, but if rain continues, the Avon and Heathcote areas may have their power switched off. Emma Cropper, CTV News.
As the massive storm passed over Akaroa, it left devastation in its wake. The township has been completely cut off due to high water levels covering roads. Power has been out for most of last night and won't be restored anytime soon.
At about 9:30 last night, and we still haven't got power on now. lots of surface flooding, trees down. Fire brigades have been out and about most of the night and day, I'd say, so far, and they're on high alert. We've got obviously no cell phone coverage. Our tower over here is obviously battery operated, and that's gone flat. They've closed the road, Fulton Hogan have closed the road to Christchurch. There's serious flooding in Little River. And obviously there's no fuel, no power, nothing in Akaroa.
So with the road closed, you're effectively fending for yourself. The entire town has to help each other, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, everyone's sort of gathering together or, buttoning down and trying to keep warm.
What are the worst areas in Akaroa?
Probably the whole entire of Akaroa is affected, really. The tide had just come up this morning. It wasn't as high as last night's tide. And it was lapping over into the streets, potentially affecting a couple of businesses, but so far it hasn't gone into them.
Is this the worst you've seen it?
It is the worst, yeah, definitely. There's 3 large yachts that have broke their moorings and washed up on the beaches here, and yeah, really rough seas and just trees, branches down everywhere.
How soon do you think you'll make it back to Christchurch?
I think all going well. I mean, Fulton Hogan's pretty amazing over this side of the hill with the highway and that. They were on it 24/7, so as soon as they get a break in this weather, they'll be clearing it, or they'll probably even be clearing it right now. So I would imagine by tomorrow morning, it would be looking like parts of it will be, it may be one lane, but certainly opening up.
Are the streets strewn with debris from the storm?
Yeah, lots of debris, lots of branches, trees down, slips around, especially around French Farm. Barry's Bay recorded 270 mils of rain in 23 hours, so yeah, there's a lot of potential for more slips and stuff to happen today.
For anyone who wasn't out in Littleton today, you might be wondering what things looked like over the hill. The problems with drainage and slips were felt by many. We spoke to Andrew Turner, City Councillor for the Banks Peninsula Ward.
With steep hillsides, heavy rain can cause huge problems for the port town.
It's been very, very wet, and there's a lot of water around. And of course, the nature of Littleton, it's built on hills, and a lot of those roads on the hillsides have turned into rivers.
But the Banks Peninsula Councillor says flooding isn't the only problem.
I'm aware of a number of trees that have come down. I'm aware of a number of, I guess, what you could call small-scale landslips, where bits of hillside and retaining walls and so on have given way.
Councillor Turner says the community have been doing what they can.
There are a number of residents who have been out trying to unblock drains. There are some residents who've had water coming through their homes as a result of blocked drains and water just draining very differently than it normally does. And of course, they've been doing what they can to avoid further water coming into their homes.
Andrew Turner says though being on a hillside causes problems, it's not all doom and gloom.
The joy of us being on a hillside, yes, we funnel a lot of water through as when it's pouring like it is at the moment, but then once the rain stops, it should drain away pretty quickly as well.
And today, he had only a few pieces of advice for residents.
Stay at home and keep warm. Make a cup of tea, get the fire going, stay at home and keep warm. I attempted to go through to Christchurch myself this morning into the city, and I mean, navigating the motorway was difficult enough.
Patrick Phelps, CTV News.
The majority of the cost of the storm and flood damage will again come down to individual insurance claims. Some advice to follow.
Al Jazeera News, international news right off the satellite, bringing you up-to-the-minute coverage of world events. Al Jazeera News, weekday mornings at 6 o'clock, right here on CTV.
Are you looking for more from your local channel? CTV are online. Our latest listings, on-demand shows, program information, all on the CTV website. We'll see you there.
Every Tuesday night, I talk to the newsmakers and decision takers to get answers to the questions that have gone unanswered. It's time to listen carefully, see clearly, and understand the real issues. Join me for Point of View, Tuesday nights at 8:30 on CTV.
Homeowners affected directly as a result of storm or flood damage over the past couple of days should contact their insurers to have damage assessed. That's from the Insurance Council of New Zealand. Insurers will respond as soon as possible to make assessments. The insurance body advised if residents have to remove damaged goods from their homes or dispose of material due to contamination that poses a risk to health, they should take photos to help inform the assessments. When the weather abates and water levels drop, waterlogged carpets or saturated bedding should be removed and homes aired to minimise mould from occurring. Chief Executive Tim Grafton said homeowners also need to let their insurer know if they have damage issues that pose a risk to their health and safety as a result of weather damage, so repairs can be made. If there are homeowners with overcap earthquake damage, which is creating weather tightness issues as a result of earthquake damage to their properties, then they should alert their insurer as well. EQC is responsible for those with undercap claims. A former Christchurch mayoral candidate is calling on the government to abandon parts of the Garden City following today's massive flooding.
Christchurch is soaked in water. Whole streets have been swallowed up by the flood. But a former mayoral candidate has been predicting this would happen for some time.
I expected this to happen, and sadly it has happened, and unfortunately it looks like it's going to happen again and again.
Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Minister Jerry Brownlee knows exactly why the flood damage is so much worse than in previous years.
The topography of Christchurch has dropped by quite a bit, and that has changed all of the flood modelling for Christchurch City.
Now Hugo Christensen is calling on the government and the Christchurch City Council to abandon parts of the city that are flood prone.
The only responsible approach is to stop all development and relocate people from these areas. If the risk cannot be mitigated, it is not acceptable to the society to force this risk on the residents.
But Christchurch's mayor says that won't be happening anytime soon.
Looking to retreat is absolutely the last option that one would go to. One would look at what other mitigation options are available.
Flockton Street was hit hard in today's flood. It's looking more like a lake than a road. Mayor Dalzell says the City Council knew this area was flood prone and is planning to fix it.
The engineers have been working incredibly hard over the last few months on mitigation around what is euphemistic but now realistically described as the Flockton Basin.
A positive from today's event is the City Council now knows more about how Christchurch suburbs handle large-scale flooding.
We are also in a much better position to think about our finished floor levels and our flood risk, and as we go into our district plan review. We have a natural hazards chapter which will be considering all of these things.
The Minister says the government and the Christchurch City Council will be working together to work on a solution for the flood risk. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
The Canterbury Earthquake Recovery Minister has announced plans to extend a program assisting vulnerable households with emergency repairs for earthquake damage following today's flood.
Today's flooding caused millions of dollars of damage in Christchurch to homes, roads and vehicles. It will take months to repair. Minister Brownlee travelled to Christchurch today to assess the damage and find out how the Crown can assist the City Council-led response.
It's quite extraordinary. I've never seen any flooding like it in my whole life, having lived in Christchurch for my whole life.
The Minister has since announced a solution for people needing emergency repairs. Those affected should contact Fletcher EQR, Hawkins or Downer.
Regardless of how the damage might have been occurred, but if it relates to the flooding, 0800 777 846 is the number to ring.
The Minister's announcement today is an extremely welcome one to have that service available to the people of Christchurch.
The existing Winter Make It Right program will also be made available to help those with housing issues that need addressing but are not emergencies. Around Christchurch, Sarah staff have spent the day in the rain, door-knocking all residents still living in the red zone. The same goes for Christchurch City Council staff.
Yes, everyone is out undertaking what we would call reassurance, but also by being out and about and door knocking and being available, we are also, sending the message that yes, there is somebody that you can talk to and who can connect you with whoever you need to be connected to.
The Minister also spoke at today's press conference of how Sarah's geotech engineers are working with council staff and other experts to assess what effect this weather event is having on the Port Hills, and if any further steps need to be taken to mitigate any risks that are identified. Marcus Gibbs, CTV News.
Canterbury Museum has suffered water damage throughout its galleries and storage areas caused by the region's torrential rain. Museum staff were deployed this morning to clean up more than 20 areas throughout the museum and the Robert McDougall Gallery that suffered water leaks. Museum Director Anthony Wright said the situation was pretty dire. We moved objects away from flooded areas, but disappointingly, a significant artwork in our Rise exhibition has been damaged. An area of Tom Buchanan's painted street scene has come away from the wall due to water leaking through from internal guttering above. The museum staff managed to keep treasured collections out of harm's way and are now on alert for other leaks. At nearly 2 p.m. today, a member of the public told the police a large landslip had led to a strong smell of fuel coming from the fuel storage tanks at the Littleton port. Police, fire and ambulance are attending the situation with police cordons in place. Fire and Serra engineers are on scene assessing the matter. No injuries have been reported. Well, still to come, our weather update, and I know you'll be very keen to find out more about that, as am I, and our traffic report.
Join me this morning as I sit down and have a chat with an exciting array of guests and tackle all the important issues around Canterbury. This morning at 10, Canterbury Life.
Join us this weekend as we bring you all the stories that captivated us over the past week. CTV Newsweek in Review, Saturday and Sunday at 5, only on CTV.
Summer, it seems, is well and truly over. The weather that hit over the past 24 hours didn't come out of nowhere. The Met Service warned locals about the storm. But good news, I'm pleased to say, is on the way. Sunnier skies are expected in the coming days.
So over the last day or so, we've had a deep area of low pressure sitting off the eastern coast of the South Island, and it's just fed rain in towards Christchurch and Banks Peninsula, almost 24 hours of heavy rainfall, and it's been incredibly wet and accompanying that windy and cold as well.
Was the storm expected to be as big and large as it was?
We had some severe warnings out, particularly for heavy rainfall about Banks Peninsula. The rain has pushed a little bit further in, and it is a case of some fairly heavy rainfall and the persistence of the rain. But the strong winds and the warnings have all been there for the last couple of days or so.
Okay, so it was always going to be or going to hit us as hard as it did.
It was never going to be a very nice day in Christchurch. The heaviest rainfall was always expected, perhaps a little bit further out towards the Banks Peninsula over the higher ground. But it's all come down into the city, and like I say, it's just the persistence of the rainfall over the last day. Thankfully, though, it is starting to pull away towards the north.
Cool. And what are we expecting in the coming days? Can we expect more rain and wind?
Hopefully, as we head through the next couple of days, things are much more settled. High pressure building over from the Tasman Sea will bring a much better day in store for Thursday. It's drier, brighter, and much less windy as well. In towards Friday and Saturday, both days don't look too bad. Perhaps another southerly coming through in the middle part of the day on Saturday could bring a few more showers, but nothing like what we've seen in the last couple of days.
Well, obviously the rain and flooding is affecting driving right around the city, but if you are driving around the central city, you will also benefit from CTV's traffic update that will assist you navigating the repairs taking place.
Hello Christchurch, to help you plan your journey around the central city, here's an update on major roadworks. Madras Street is down to one lane from Morehouse Ave to Allen Street. And also between Worcester Street and Oxford Terrace, you can expect peak time delays through here. This week we suggest using Montreal Street and Fitzgerald Avenue when travelling north through the city. A reminder, during this week major works start on Barbados Street, around the St Asaph Street intersection. This will reduce Barbados down to one lane. Using Fitzgerald Avenue and Manchester Street when heading south will help you avoid delays this week. Keep watching CTV News first at 5 for the latest information, or check out the Transport for Christchurch website for any updates.
And finally tonight, the bit you've all been waiting for, regional weather.
Kia ora everyone. Well, it may not seem like it at the moment, but that strong cold southerly airflow will start to ease over the South Island tonight as a depression moves slowly away. Let's take a look at the weather in your area for tomorrow. Kaikoura, cloudy tonight but becoming fine and sunny during the morning, with cool southwesterlies dying out and northeasterlies arriving later on. Tonight's low 8 degrees, tomorrow's high 17 degrees. Not much to report for Hamner tomorrow, except it's looking fine and sunny with some light winds expected. Tonight's low, though, a little chilly at 4 degrees, and tomorrow's high will be at 21. Rangiora Kaipoi, conditions are drying up tonight with cloud clearing and sunny weather developing tomorrow. Northeasterlies are expected in the afternoon. Tonight's low 8 degrees, tomorrow's high 17. Rest assured the rain will clear in Christchurch. May be cloudy tonight but becoming fine and sunny during the morning tomorrow, with cool southwesterlies dying out and northeasterlies later on. Expect a low of 8 degrees tonight with tomorrow's high at 17 degrees. Ashburton, cold tonight but looking mild tomorrow with sunny skies and the usual northeasterly breezes. Tonight's low 5 degrees, tomorrow's high 18. And Timaru, mostly fine and sunny with northeasterly winds developing. Tonight's low 5, tomorrow's high 18 degrees. Let's take a look at the weather in other areas now. It's looking a lot better for all outer areas tomorrow, with temperatures ranging from the mid-teens to low 20s. With Greymouth looking good on 20 degrees and Arthur's Pass taking out the high of 21. Looking ahead for Canterbury, fine on Saturday with sunny periods and increasing high cloud. Light to moderate northeasterly winds are expected. Sunny periods and high cloud at first on Saturday with light northerly winds, but becoming cloudy during the afternoon with some showers developing. Colder southerly winds freshening. And that's your weather update for Wednesday.
And that's CTV News for Wednesday. I'm Grant Mangan. We end tonight with some more images of the flood of the century.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.